So many thanks to Mare, Dell, and the team for making this possible. I would love to introduce NREMI to you. It's the pricing infrastructure we're building for residential real estate. We just turned 1 year old last month, so presenting NREMI today is a fitting way to celebrate the work we've been doing. But you know what they say about startups? You're surviving year one, that's cute, but you've just begun the ascent to the valley of death. So we are happy that you're all going to be part of that journey. My background, quick on me before we get into the product. I am the founder of NREMI. I also trained as a real estate investment analyst through Wharton Education and Wall Street Pape. I graduated in the top % of my class. I also work as a forward deployed AI engineer, which means that I spend some of my days brainstorming and testing with real estate teams, and other days implementing and building the infrastructure with the reality in mind. And the days that I actually love are site visits, show house tours. So if you have any show house or site to show me, please reach out after this. I would love to come and see it. A little bit, we talk about the current market. So how are units currently getting priced in the market? Well, if you're a developer or investor in this room today, your pricing strategy probably falls into one of these. We have the cost-driven pricing, which, this is part of the financial models that anchors the price to construction costs that you get from quantity surveyors. You have your financing costs, you have your land acquisition costs, and your target IRRs, returns, which every sophisticated developer has this because it does set the floor price. Then you have your yield-driven pricing. So this is a common practice for rental units where you backsolve the asking price from expected rent and target yield. So you know the expected rent, you know your target yield, you derive the asking price. Some developers price this, setting the ceiling for retail investors. You have commissioned feasibility studies. So these give a comprehensive pre-launch analysis that covers market dynamics, so that's supply and demand. They also cover comparable properties, and they set the initial pricing strategy. So the study is important because it informs developers the sales strategies for the course of construction through completion. And then you have commissioned valuer reports. These are reports that are legally protected under the registered under the Valuers Act and overseen by the Valuers Registration Board. The banks accept them for mortgages, courts accept them in disputes, auditors rely on them. They're very defensible, and they're used at a single point in time. And then you have published market indices. So these are institutional players with 25 plus years of transaction data, which are published quarterly. They serve the market as a macro reference, are useful for trend commentary. And on the sell side, you have brochures and investment memos. So the buyer or investor-facing documents that carry projected operating values, rental yields, and investment cases, usually to get investors or buyers to come in. So now, all of these are real. They're credible methods. They're happening in the market. They're absolutely not wrong. The market is not analytical poor, as we've seen. It's actually far from it. The analytical work exists at every level, from the developers' financial models to institutional firms, published indexes, to the investment memos handed to investors. So if all of this analytical rigor exists, and it's enough to close sales, what's missing? So we are going to talk about the missing signal. So what's the most important number in real estate? It's the market price. What the unit, the building, the portfolio is actually worth today. The number anchors everything. It anchors the developer's pricing strategy. It anchors the buyer's offer, the valuer's report, the bank's lending decision, and the investor's underwriting. But here's the issue. The signal that everyone references doesn't yet exist in the form that residential real estate actually requires right now. And I'll show you how it's missing. If you look at what we just walked through, we've talked about feasibility studies, valuer reports, published market indices, and fragmented transaction data that is sitting in sales agreements. All of it is real, it's credible, it's what the market currently uses, but none of it is tied to the form of what's needed. And what's needed is a signal that is continuous, meaning it's not at a single point in time. It's recalibrated as the market transacts. It's networked, meaning it's not siloed inside one firm's portfolio or one developer's network or one valuer's PDF. It's precise at the unit level, so it's not aggregated to neighborhood averages or quarterly indices. The data, as you can see, is everywhere. Almost everyone in this room has the data. The signal isn't. The analytical work has or is being done accurately, actually. What's missing is the operational layer that ties it together to give that continuous, networked, precise market price reference point to the people who need it to make those informed, high-stakes decisions without waiting. So that brings me to NREMI. NREMI is the next-gen pricing infrastructure that I've committed myself to building. We turn that analytical work the market already does well into an operational edge. It's anchored on the pillars that are missing today, and that is the continuity. So how NREMI tackles this is we run across a developer's full inventory on every unit all the time. The engine is deterministic, meaning same data inputs equals to the same price outputs. If the data hasn't changed, the price doesn't change. But when the market signal shifts, that is when we record closed sales, sales velocity, or record the time on market, inventory scarcity, that is how fast is a high in-demand unit type moving, comparable transactions, completion time, and appreciation rate and operating costs. When we record this, this means the signals have shifted, and thus the price can shift. NREMI surfaces those signals that I've just mentioned and recommends the recalibrations to the developer. So the developer stays in full control, the system stays current. The other pillar that we work on is we make it networked. So we accumulate verifiable property data across every project on the platform. And the data spans, of course, across transaction data. Those are closing prices, dates, discounts, the unit specifications, the size, orientation, flow, finishes, comparable sales on that area, the rental data, yields, the operating costs, those are the service charges and management fees, the sales velocity, construction milestones, and macro data, which includes currency rates and mortgage rates. So every project in our system makes the next project sharper, and over time, the system sees what no single firm can see alone. We are also buyer-facing. So buyer-facing is where the market clears the actual price that the buyer pays for the unit. So we give sales agents the data that shows buyers the unit's unique value system. I've talked to a couple of sales agents before, and they have clearly said it to me that some of the data is actually not even available to them, like finishing schedules. So whether it's an instant equity to be gained by the buyer, meaning the unit is actually valued below the market price, so they get that instant equity when they purchase, or it's defending premium offerings, meaning that your finishes, your amenities deserve to be above the market. The flow that we work with is very simple. We sit on a developer's sales workflow. So we ingest data, and this is the most important part because this is where we surface the developer's differentiators and unique positioning in the market. The project space, the finish quality, the amenities, the location premium, the engine needs to know so that we can price accurately when we compare it against the market comparables. We embed this with our pricing engine. So this is the analytical core. Every unit gets its own price. I've talked to a developer before, and they told me that they're having trust issues with buyers because they priced differently and they couldn't explain why the same unit was priced differently. So every unit gets its own price. The engine applies comparable transaction analysis with adjustments, and it recalibrates based on those market signals. We also generate unit reports, which are the buyer-facing reports to show the value system of the unit. We continuously recalibrate. So this is the loop that keeps everything in our system networked. So we're not inventing a new pricing methodology. The methodology is solid. Valuers do it. Developers do it. Feasibility studies do it. What we're building is the next infrastructure that makes it operational, accumulating, and buyer-facing. So why do we do this? What's at stake here? So there are two ways developers can leave money on the table. With yesterday's sessions, we talked about how capital is tight, there is appetite, but capital efficiency is important to make sure that you have enough for your next projects and you're able to scale. So you don't want to leave any money on the table. One of the ways developers do this is by mispricing inventory. If your asking price is 3% below today's market on 42 of your 60 units, the units priced at 8 million each, that's around 14 million Kenyan shillings in unrealized margins sitting in your inventory, and you won't notice it until those units quickly sell or you realize you left margin on the table. And the other way is closing discounts. The exit phase tail, 15% average closing discount on the last 10 of 60 units, that's roughly 16% of your inventory left. Priced at 8 million each, it's 11 million Kenya shillings lost at close. It's not because of bad sales, it's because of the pressure to clear inventory without a market price reference point to defend against it. Both of these are invisible without the market price reference point, and NREMI surfaces both before closing. So why now? Nairobi is booming, everybody knows that, but booming comes before the falling on the JLL property clock. Four main things that show that now is the time. One, pricing pressure spans the full completion spectrum. We have a lot of off-plan developments in Nairobi, pre-sales to completed inventory. Buyers are asking questions that require informed answers. They are comparing across stages and projects, and pricing intelligence needs to keep the pace. The second is operators recognize the gap, and they're actually being very smart at filling it with manual workarounds and preset escalation schedules. So the appetite for sophisticated pricing, precise pricing analysis is already in the market. Third, institutional and sophisticated retail investors are demanding the complete picture, not just the price. They want unbiased market conditions. These are market-wide vacancy rental appreciation rates. Fourth, networked property data captures market conditions no single firm alone can see. The institutional era requires this kind of cross-firm visibility. And the data, the infrastructure, the appetite is converging right now. And lastly, the tech is mature to build and scale this very fast. So who is this built for? You've heard me talking about developers. So yes, we are built for developers. We help developers surface margin that they didn't know they had and defend it. We also help sales agents have the confidence to close at full value by providing them with the data and also defend their premiums. We help investors gain continuous visibility on how the market is pricing their portfolio. We are currently pricing a small retail investor's portfolio worth around 90 million Kenya shillings, providing visibility to the retail investor into how the market is pricing and their projected yields. So these are it's not working. The battery is dead.
While we're getting the text sorted, not to deny my Charlene an audience, the next session next door is going to get going in the next 5 minutes, if you want to get on that. But we're going to finish off this innovation, that missing middle, that gap. Oh, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I just have like 2 slides left.
Cool.
There we go.
Cool.
So we're piloting right now with Ikaya Sunrise. It's at USIU Road. And we're also piloting with Angani by Residency Africa. They're just pricing their last 10%. Angani is a premium residential development in Kitsuru and Kirawa Road, and it has really established itself as a stellar dominant developer, and has set their finish and amenities and quality packages pretty high above the baseline. And so what are we asking? What are we looking for right now? So 2 ways the room can help us build the pricing infrastructure for East Africa residential real estate is we're looking for emerging giant developers who are doing 5 to 15 projects. These are sophisticated developers ready to deploy across new and existing projects. And they're ready to operationalize capital efficiency, margin protection, and margin discovery in their operations. So if you're scaling, if you're positioning yourself for institutional capital, and if you want to be defensible across your portfolio, I would be happy to talk. We're also looking for strategic partners, registered valuers, data providers, financial institutions, investors who are committed to bring transparency and rigor to the sector. We're not replacing valuers, we're operating alongside them. We're not competing with banks, we're informing the decisions. If you're committed to the institutional era, this summit is built around what we want to build with you. So, yeah, I'll be happy to talk and see you next time.
All right. Has anybody got any questions for Charlene? You were comprehensive, that comprehensive. Thank you very, very much.